Now we'll dig a little deeper into the assignments we've already discussed in a previous unit and think about how we decide whether student work shows evidence of meeting the learning outcomes we've chosen. Let's look at some student work. Here's a simple math problem and 2 examples of student answers. Should these 2 students get the same score? Look at student 1's work. What happens if a student gets the right answer using the wrong method? Look at student 2's work. Is it up to the student to explicitly show or tell the grader what she or he knows, or can the grader make assumptions about the student's knowledge? If we were looking at some samples of writing, what do you do if a student uses all the right words and phrases, but you're not convinced that they actually understand the topic at the level you want them to? It is crucial that these decisions be made before the assignment is given, so that the expectations are clearly communicated to the students before they are evaluated. Having clear objectives in mind for both the course and individual assignments can help you make these decisions in a purposeful manner. I'm not going to suggest a best way to grade the candy problem we just looked at, but I will point out that the objectives of the assignment aren't clear, and this grader is going to struggle with how to evaluate the learning. Aligning your grading to your objectives for the course isn't just useful to you while you're grading. Evaluation can actually be a major part of the learning process. Walford and Anderson, in their book Effective Grading, provide the following quote: "By grading, we mean not only bestowing an A or a C on a piece of student work, we also mean the process by which a teacher assesses student learning through classroom tests and assignments, the context in which good teachers establish that process, and the dialogue that surrounds grades and defines their meaning to various audiences." When we talk about grading, we have student learning most in mind. Some general guidelines, then, to think about. Recognize that grades are important to students. They may fear that the score they earn on your assignment may literally change the course of their careers. Be explicit about your definition of cheating, and remember that this may change depending on the assignment. For example, group projects might have a very different definition than an in-class exam. In our ever-connected internet world, students have changing ideas about the ownership of knowledge, how to properly cite, and what collaboration means. Share explicitly how to succeed. Don't expect students to simply intuit what great work in your class should look like. Grade fairly. No matter how ethically we approach grading, as we saw earlier with the math problem, student work can present unexpected challenges to using consistent standards across individuals or between classes. Consistently provide constructive feedback with performance standards. As mentioned earlier, grading is about moving students forward, so the feedback should work to that end. Next, we'll explore tools that you can use as you incorporate these guidelines for making grading useful and efficient. A rubric is a scoring tool that lists the criteria, or what counts, for a piece of work. We just talked about reasons why having a clear set of objectives for an assessment help us make choices about what counts while we grade. A rubric is the place to communicate to students the important features on which the grade will be based. These features define the standards by which you will evaluate student performance on the assignment, break down what successful work looks like, and gives you an efficient way to provide meaningful feedback that helps students progress. There are several types of rubrics. A basic or checklist rubric includes a list of traits that are present or absent. Prioritizing these elements tells the student you're valuing completion or format. A minimal rubric also contains a list of traits you expect to see in student work, but allows you to break down those skills into smaller parts with a checkbox or space for specific comments. This allows students to see the basic categories they need to work on and gives more details about which aspects of the work you care about. The most thorough form of a rubric is the scoring level or primary trait analysis. This expands on the list of traits you might include in a minimal rubric to clarify what student work would have to look like to achieve each level of rating. We find these are often the most useful to instructors who want to increase student learning and decrease their grading time. We'll work through the process of creating one in the next video in this unit. You're thinking right now that we promised to help you spend less time grading, and now we're telling you to go out and spend more time creating rubrics for your assignments. And you're right, that seems counterintuitive, but there are many benefits to spending time on rubrics. Rubrics can eliminate worry about whether the grade given to a student is the right one. They decrease the time spent discussing your grading process with individual students. They provide a standard comparison for all the assignments instead of just making the best paper an A. If students are provided with a rubric ahead of time, They can self-evaluate their work according to the instructor's standards and are likely to submit higher quality assignments. That raises the question, when should we give students the rubric? When you assign work, it often helps students to see what they are supposed to be doing and what the criteria look like. In other scenarios, you might want to give a modified or pared down version to students. As a teacher, grading high-quality student work is easier and more rewarding. Letting students know what constitutes quality work increases their ability to meet your expectations. When returning work to students, consider adding the completed rubric. If you do this in paper form, students can see your scores, circles, highlights, or checkboxes. Or you may want to consider using the electronic rubrics function found in the learning management system. Either way, students will benefit greatly from the explicit feedback you've provided. Rubrics can be used in many different contexts for many different types of assignments. In the Further Resources section at the end of this unit, you'll find many example rubrics from a variety of disciplines. UCAT staff members are also available to help you create and edit rubrics for any context. Contact our office to set up a consultation.